All right, hi AP Psych. So I apologize. You're probably going to hear Finding Dory in the background and maybe even Jack. Also, this belongs in unit, the one that we just finished, unit set 5. I apologize. I didn't realize that I missed this one. Some of the slides that I have are out of the order in which that the new so AP Psychology had a little bit of a revamping of what units they have in terms of what is in each unit. There used to be 11, now there's 9. They move things around. Anyways, this belongs in Unit 5, so I apologize. The next unit is 6, and I have all that ready to go. So this week is 6, but again, this belongs in 5. Sorry if I'm making it more more confusing. This is for 5, and I messed up, and I apologize. So, problem-solving methods. So we're presented with unknown situations, and we utilize several methods to analyze the situation. The majority of this activity takes place in the right hemisphere, which is specialized in the unknown. This is super annoying. Sorry, that keeps popping up. So there are two things. There's an algorithm or a heuristics. So an algorithm is the methodical, logical approach that guarantees solving a problem. It tests all solutions. So let's say you need to purchase some soup. You walk into the grocery store and you just walk up and down every single aisle until you land on soup. That's not what most of us do. We use heuristics, which is a simple thinking strategy that allows you to make judgments and educated guesses. It's normally what we use. So instead of saying, "Oh, I need to get," and I'll be more specific now. You're gonna get chicken noodle soup, you go to the soup aisle and then you start looking for the soup that you want, as opposed to just the algorithm, which is going through every possible solution. Heuristics use your best judgment to come up with a solution. Okay? So one can experience insight, which is the sudden realization of a problem solution. Think of like the light bulb over the head in a cartoon. So Collier pioneered insight research with his experiments on chimpanzees. Chimpanzees were given fruit out of reach, and eventually with insight they used sticks to get the fruits. When they had the moment of insight, the clear electrical and chemical activity came from the right hemisphere, which is creativity, and that light bulb moment. We did watch a video of that. If you Google his name in chimpanzees, you'll see it. But, it's just that aha moment of after, trial and error, you finally get it. That's what that insight is. And regardless of the method, problem solving can be hindered or aided by a mental state. So the tendency to approach a problem the same way. So if you, they give you the example of fixing a broken down car, you're unable to think of other mental approaches, right? It's are you open to new ideas in your mental state? Are you stuck in one place? I think we've gone over this a few times and you really liked it, the functional fixedness. It's that cognitive bias that limits a person from using an object only in one way. And you're seeing a lot of functional fixedness right now with masks, right? So when you think, oh, I need to get a mask to go outside, I have to go to the store, I have to buy the surgical mask, and that's a mask. People are overcoming their functional fixedness by using other household objects, like a scarf or a handkerchief, or you could Google them. People using some really funny things, underpants, pot covers. I mean, you name it. People are putting it on their face. They're overcoming their functional fixedness to get what they need. To continue, you have judgment. This is one of our favorite people, Jonathan Haidt. You guys love him. So in problem solving, our brains tend to lean to quick, intuitive decisions, like that knee-jerk reaction. Your initial judgments, which may not be great or accurate, is really what you okay, wasn't sure if that was the name or the kid. That was kid. Is usually what you use. So intuition, for example, is that effortless, immediate, automatic feeling or thought as a contrast with really deep thinking. What Jonathan Haidt is saying is that we now know that decisions are based primarily on intuition, predispositions and rationalizations after the fact. So meaning you don't make a rational, thoughtful decision, but afterwards you have to justify it. So let me think of an example. Sorry. So you hold on. Let me think. All right. An example. Back when we went to school, you were sitting in class, you forgot there was a quiz, and you cheated on it. You get caught cheating, and you tell the teacher, well, you didn't remind me about that quiz, so I had to cheat, right? It's this idea that you made a terrible decision, and now you have to backtrack and make it work for you. Then there's the confirmation bias. It profoundly misleads our judgment. We tend to almost exclusively use or remember information that confirms what we already believe. You're all seeing this right now in the different news stations, different folks. It's like they already know how they feel about the topic before they hear the information. And then there's belief perseverance. It's that clinging to your initial concept after the basis on which you were formed has been discredited. So I don't want to get political, but I'll throw out those folks that are standing and protesting that we should be able to go outside and not wear masks. And man, their confirmation bias was that this COVID-19 was not a big deal. It was just like the flu, and they can't get past it. So they're going to stick to their guns that this is not a big deal, and they're going to fight for the right to go outside unmasked and be a danger to society, in my opinion. But that's the idea where they heard confirmation bias. Okay, it's just like the flu. All right, I'm with you. Believe perseverance. We're in this for 2 months. We've had, thousands of deaths and cases, and they're still sticking to this is just like the flu. All right. Continuing with your judgment, we have certain viewpoints, associations, or prior knowledge can influence judgment in a negative or positive way. So, representative heuristics. It may cause you to judge the likelihood of events or situation based on stereotypes, things that you believe to be true. So, a pit bull and a golden lab, you may prejudge the pit bull as being more aggressive, right? So, you have those representative heuristics. You have your own stereotypes that are going on in your head, and you make judgments based on them. I think that the pit bull is a good example, right? I don't want to. All right, availability heuristics. It may also mislead us in regards to memory, as they cause us to estimate the likelihood of event based on your your available memory. Meaning, people rarely win big when you gamble, but the availability of the memory when one does win misleads. So meaning you could sit at a slot machine and lose 30 times in a row. You win once. If someone, you now believe like, oh, that's the memory I'm gonna hang on to. I won that one time. Overconfidence. The tendency to be more confident than correct. It may evoke certainty in a judgment. It's those folks that tell you something that's not accurate, but they say it with such confidence, with such authority that you almost believe them when they're wrong. They're just going with confidence. And then there's framing. So it's how you state a sentence or how you state something, you frame it. So the COVID-19 is only going to impact about 3% of the country, right? 3% of the people. So you would think that's not a large percentage, but then you frame it in the way if I gave you a box of candy and I told you one of them will kill you, but the rest are fine, would you still eat it, right? It's the framing of how you disseminate information to someone. I think that makes sense. All right. I'm thinking of whether I should stop here or not. No, we're going to keep going because I want to keep it under 15 minutes. All right, creativity. That's the availability to produce novel and valuable ideas. True creativity is incredibly rare, it really is, and most humans are incapable of true novelty that adds to the value of their lives, regardless of an idea's novelty or value. We think it either convergent or divergent thinking. So creativity is your ability to create. When they say novel and valuable, think unique, think different, think never thought of before, right? Think of I remember when Uber first came out, and I thought there's no way that anyone is going to get in some stranger's car. And here we are today. I use Uber all the time. When we're back in society, but just saying, that's a novel idea. No one else thought of it. People thought it was kind of crazy, including myself, and now it's, that's true creativity. So then the two things that we're looking at is convergent versus divergent. Convergent thinking is narrow, problem solving. You come up with one answer. 2 plus 2 is 4, right? Divergent thinking, that's when you want to find all different types of answers. So it's mainly in the frontal lobes and the right hemisphere. It expands the numbers of possible problems. It's not just one possibility. So I don't think that any of us are just convergent or just divergent, but rather there are certain situations in which you should use your convergent thinking and others where you should use divergent. So for example, in an algebra class. When you are given equations, you are using convergent thinking. You have numbers and you're trying to come up with Jack likes this example, come up with the one answer. Whereas in English class, I could pose a question where there isn't one answer. You really want to think about the multiple perspectives, different ways of getting to a solution. So I don't. Some people may be stronger in one than the other, but the best type of person, in my opinion, is that you're able to use both convergent and divergent thinking and apply them to different situations. And your own creativity and divergent thinking are innate and cannot be taught. So, one of the themes of the class, it's your genes, right? And additionally, prior to popular belief, an environment with rules and structure does does foster creative thought. In order for your mind to wander and pursue answers or interests, you need to have a stable, safe environment. So, when you're in school and there's structure and there's timelines and there's dates, that should help your creativity. If we just told you to run amok, you may not come up with as great of ideas as you would with some sort of structure. So, comfort and safety of contemporary society does promote creative thought. Timing. All right. So the components of creativity. So if we want to foster and develop creativity, how do we do that? So I'm going to end this video here. While one's creativity cannot be taught or trained, it can be facilitated, meaning you have an innate ability to be creative, but based on the environment and what we're doing with you or what you're doing yourself, we can build it. You can use the maximum capacity of your creativity is what I'm trying to say. So expertise. A well-developed base of knowledge provides more building blocks with which to create novel ideas and uses. So sorry class, this was the first time I'm teaching AP Psychology. In a few years, I'll probably be able to come up with better projects and activities as I become more of an expert on this information. Then there's imaginative thinking. Having mastered a problem's basic elements, we tend to redefine and explore a new way, allowing different perspectives. So you have to understand something at its basis to then become imaginative. So I'm watching Finding Dory. It's in the background right now if you can hear it. I think we understand the idea of, well, we want to help animals. Once we understand that, how to help them, we come up with all different types of ways to do that. We've created aquariums. There's different safe havens. We recreate how we structured zoos. We don't put animals in cages like that. We try to build a better environment. So again, it's imaginative thinking. Once you start to learn something, you build on it. Venturesome personality. In order to be creative, you want to be able to experience something new, tolerate things that are unclear, overcome obstacles, take a risk, right? You should be intrinsically motivated to be creative. You really want to tap into the creativity. You want it. It shouldn't be because I want an A or someone told me I have to do this. And then finally, creative environment, a supportive place, team building, and communication. All right. So again, I apologize that this belonged in Unit 5, but here it is, first half of this notebook, page 15. Thank you. My apologies again. I hope that was helpful, and I